Hello, friends. Thanks so much for being here. I'm Rachel Archelaus. Carrie will be with us shortly, and you're on the Intuitive Art Academy YouTube channel. If you'd like to get notified when we schedule new live streams or when we have new videos, subscribe. Just click the button below, and you can ring the bell if you want to be notified. So all good things there. We do a lot of these. We've done a live stream on fun. We've done a live stream on what else was the other one? I don't I don't remember, but it was really good. Yeah. So clarity is today. I'm really excited to talk about this because it's kind of like the foundation of intuitive art. The idea that you can get clear answers for what is best for you, the best option at this time. That's really what we're going for. We want to know, yeah, like there are a million options out there, right? The world is smaller than ever. We can do one thing so many ways. What is the best way for me to do this? To be able to know what that is without all the trial and error is huge and such a time saver. When you get into that flow of asking, getting an answer, trusting, it goes quicker and quicker. And you find that there's really nothing you can't get an answer for. So Carrie is here. I'm going to bring her on. Hello, Carrie.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. I notice I don't have my headset on, so if you get an echo, just let me know.
I do have an echo, but I can deal with it if you can.
No, well, I'll make you big so you can talk for a minute and I'll go get mine.
Well, guys, we're talking about clarity today, and um, it's funny. I can't wait to have this conversation because I've been feeling anxious today about just something something I've got coming up in my life and business, and it was something that I committed to um, in a place of non-clarity. I committed to it, and I'm excited about so much of it. But I'm recognizing that I wasn't super clear on what I am willing to do and what I am not willing to do. And because of that, I think I kind of said yes to some things that, um, or I don't even know if I said yes to some things or if I just allowed myself to get sort of swept in to some things that I'm now super clear that I don't want to do again. So it is not. So that's just an interesting place to be, is recognizing um, it was a moment in my um, life and business where I didn't stop and check in. I didn't ask, and I think I had a knowing even in the moment. I recognize that I reverted back to an old pattern, which is just to say yes because I'm capable, or yes because, like, oh yeah, I could probably do that. Yeah, I could manage that. Um, because I wanted to. God, it's been so long since I've considered myself a people pleaser, but I'm looking at the way that I like behaved, and it was like, yeah, it was a little bit of people pleasing. It was actually, I don't know if it was people pleasing. It was recognizing, it was wanting to help, right? Like, oh yeah, yeah, I can fill that gap instead of actually like stopping and checking in and getting clear. And yeah, now I find myself in a bit of anxiety and overwhelm, which is what happens. So I don't know what you were talking about in the very beginning because I was late, but I'm happy to have this call right now and talk about clarity, because what happens when you make decisions out of other places is you wind up feeling like I do right now.
Yeah, well, that brings up the perfect point because where does clarity live? So, in order to get the clearest answer of what's right for us right now, we have to be connected to our bigger self, our intuition, our higher self, God, whatever you call it. If the answer is not coming from there, we're making it from somewhere else. Like like a wound, or from, people pleasing, or out of, we're already feeling overwhelmed. So that's what we're going to perpetuate. And so I know you can look back on your life and notice where you made decisions out of fear or out of people pleasing. And those they end up not feeling good when you're following through with them. But when you've made a decision, even if it seems illogical, out of your alignment, out of that like bigger knowing, that intuition, it works out usually in ways you couldn't even have imagined, right? Like it's better than you thought it would be. So clarity lives up there in your inner wisdom. And so that's where you have to go to get answers if you want them to be clear and to work out really well. So we obviously have a couple of techniques to help you do that. That's kind of what we do. So we'll talk about two today. We have our yes-no technique, and we have intuitive art, which if you don't already know about, go to intuitiveartclass.com and take our free class. It will teach you everything we talk about today. So Carrie, you mentioned doing a little bit of people pleasing and how it may not feel as great right now, but it's never too late to rejoin clarity, even if you still have stuff to do, right? Even if there's still a schedule that you're going to adhere to. So you're already clearer now that maybe you made that decision from a place that wasn't clarity.
Well, and it's funny, I think when I was doing it, I knew, right? I was like making little compromises. And hello, right? I'm a huge believer in do only what you love. And especially for me, I talk about, yeah, I talk about like living in your strengths and not doing things that deplete you. And I think even in the agreeing to it, I knew that I was agreeing to doing some things that depleted me. But I was like, oh, it'll be okay. I'll figure it out. I can manage, right? And I was thinking that it was going to be over a much shorter period of time than now I'm learning it's actually going to be. And so I'm in this place of today looking for a new amount of clarity and a new amount of alignment because I am going to stay in integrity. I'm not going to it wouldn't feel within my character to today say, yeah, no, I disagree. I'm not going to do any of those things that I agreed to do because I would really be leaving a couple of other people like up a tree. So I'm going to follow through on what I've committed to. But I am looking for today, okay, let me get clear on within what I've agreed to, right? What are my new boundaries here? And what is the within what I've already agreed to? I guess like, how can I stop myself going down a slippery slope, right? How
Mm-hmm.
can I be? Because what happened is what I thought I was agreeing to, like, oh, okay, yeah, I could do that. Oh, that sounds good. And then now the like reality of what I'm actually facing is a way bigger time commitment outside of what I'm good at, and not just what I'm good at, but what fills me up. So I'm looking for today, I want clarity on how can I do these tasks in a way that fills me up, right? That
Mm-hmm.
is the clarity I'm looking for because, and I think maybe that's the do only what you love piece, right? Is like, okay, I'm doing some things that I don't love. How can I love them?
Yeah.
So
Or how can I
that's where I am.
structure things so that it's not so depleting? Yeah, I know. That's great. And I think so many people are in that place right now where, maybe they've been realizing over the last few years, or especially the last few months, like, I'm not really aligned with my day job, or I'm not really aligned with how many things are in my schedule. Maybe they're seeing now, like, they feel so much better, so much more relief not having to keep up a schedule. But, they're still going to go back to work when it reopens. And that's what most people are going to benefit from. Like, it's really difficult to just up and quit your job and still maintain some sense of like positivity, right? If your income source has been cut off. So it's all about that gradual getting to where you want to be. So yeah, I love this. And intuitive art will definitely help make the map for you of what is the first step to getting what I want? What is my next step toward more freedom? How can I structure this in a way that feels really good and is beneficial for everyone? There are questions that you can ask yourself for where you are right now that can help you get to where you want to be, that aren't overwhelming, that don't take too much time, right? That are gentle and loving on your system, that don't make you feel wrong or like you did anything bad, because you didn't. So the whole name of the game with clarity is it's always neutral, right? It's always just an answer. No one is ever shaming you. Like your higher self is never going to say you did something bad or, don't do that again. It's all loving here. Like when you're talking to your intuition, to God, to your higher self, there's never anything negative going on. So I think that can give people some instant relief. Like there's no universal judgment out there in any way, even if like the Bible might say otherwise, right? I've never seen it anyway. So you're never doing anything wrong, and there's always a way to get to where you want to go. And that is a really empowering thing.
Well, I was just thinking it might be helpful to give people instant relief. Um, and I would love if we could actually draw for me today, as long as we're here. But talk about no method, right? Because I am super familiar with it. I tend to live my life from there, and I recognize I was in the moment that I was saying yes, I was feeling a no, which is a huge, that's a big giveaway. But you want to talk about what that is and how people can discern, right? Because here's the truth, you guys, if you make, and this is just like this is such an important like moment for me, recognizing I was feeling a no and I said yes. And then I tried to justify, because I've spent the past 4 or 5 years really only living in my yeses. And for some reason, I thought I could like power through, like I could be the exception to, like I could convince my higher self that I knew better. But whenever you feel a no and say yes, this is where you wind up. So yeah, you want to explain what that is for people?
Yeah. So the yes no technique is just a way to ask your higher self a yes or no question. So Carrie and I use this all the time together in the business to make really big decisions. We use it personally to make little, big, in between decisions. And as you can tell from how Carrie was talking, after you do it for a while, you get the feeling of the yes or no, even if you're not stopping to ask yourself. Like it's just apparent what is a yes for you and what is a no for you. So we can do it now together. And I also have a video about this on my Hello Love YouTube channel. So I'll link to that below after we're done with this. I also have a video that I put out 2 weeks ago about emotional decision making versus intuitive decision making, which was really eye-opening, because sometimes you either can't feel it or you feel like you're a yes, but maybe you're a no. It can get a little confusing sometimes. So check out that video if you've ever been confused about like, am I being emotional or am I being intuitive? So, all right, yes, no technique. It's really simple. If you can feel in your body like a really fun time you've ever had, if you can conjure a memory of a great vacation, or hugging someone you love or petting your favorite pet, your body is going to react. And if you can feel that reaction, if you can feel love in your body or fun or happiness, normally you'll feel an expansive feeling. Sometimes it'll feel warm in your chest. Your shoulders will naturally open up a little bit. You'll feel a little more relaxed. That is a yes feeling, and it can be very subtle, and that's okay. We're not looking for fireworks in your chest, just a tiny little shift. And then if you remember some bad times or when you felt depressed or didn't want to get up, the opposite happens, right? You feel a little contracted, your shoulders go forward, there's a heaviness instead of a lightness. So that's a no feeling. And occasionally you'll get a neutral, which is just nothing, but that's very rare. So you're really looking for a subtle expansion or a subtle contraction, a lightness or a heaviness. So now it's just about asking a question. So if you can think of something right now that you'd want to ask your higher self, if you've been wondering about, am I going to get to go on vacation this year? Will my kid get to go back to college in the fall? Will schools be open? Should I start this new exercise program? Like whatever is coming up for you in your life right now, it can be super big, it can be small, whatever. Just think of a question that you'd want to ask, a yes or no question to your higher self. I'll give you a minute. Sometimes people find this is the hardest part. Okay, so you got your question. Now you're just in your head going to say, okay, higher self, is this the most beneficial thing for me to do right now? So whatever it is this the most beneficial thing for me to do right now? Or will my kid be going to college, right? So whichever way you want to frame it, go ahead and ask in your head right now. Sometimes you'll yawn, like Carrie's a big yawner when she's connected to her truth. For me, I'm a subtler person. My answers are usually kind of small. I just got a small no. For you, you're probably getting the answer before you're done asking the question. So it's not like ask the question and then wait for the answer. It's like question asking and answer come at the same time. So let me know if you're here in the chat, if you got an answer. We got a bunch of people here. Okay, so Dina's saying her belly gets excited for a yes. Crystal, hello. Your belly gets excited. Lots of bellies are excited here. Awesome.
Yeah,
Cool.
Rachel, I was going to tell you, I feel a yes, it's like coming, it's an opening, but a no is a dropping. So I often
Okay.
will feel a yes in my heart and a no in my stomach, right? Like recognizing that connection. But I found it valuable one time. You were talking to me, I think it was about a big decision, and you said sometimes you'll feel a yes, and then immediately it goes to a no.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you described it is you said that's because your brain had a chance to register the yes and it freaked out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I think that's really important to know because sometimes, it's making a big financial decision or it just the decision feels big. And so you'll get, and then you freak out. And then you're like, was that a yes? No, it's got to be a no. I think it was definitely a no. And so knowing that has given me the courage to listen to those yeses when they're scary, and they've always led to amazing things, right? Like they've always been real yeses. But I wanted to tell people that because if you feel one thing and then you like feel it change, it's because your brain became involved. So listen to the first thing.
Yeah. Think about your intuition as your first voice. The first answer you get is your intuition, right? The second one is whatever scary like circumstance your brain can think of to stop you from changing direction. So yeah, always listen to the first answer. But you bring up a good point because it's really hard to do if you're not used to it. And that's why we have intuitive art. Because it takes the process outside of your body, puts it in your hands with your eyes closed, and it gives you a piece of paper with your answer on it with much more context than a yes or no. So I don't know if I brought this up, but even in the book that I wrote, we do have the yes or no technique in here before the intuitive art process because they're both really helpful in getting clarity. And you can use the yes no technique about your drawings too. So I use these hand in hand.
Well, I find it helpful. Like yes, no for me is, this may sound overly simplified, but it's for a simple answer like, should I or shouldn't I? Yes or no? Is this a good idea? Is it in my highest and best interest to do this? Yes or no? And then intuitive art is usually some sort of a follow up, right? It's like okay, well, if it's really true that I'm supposed to do this, show me what my life looks like if I do, then show me what my life looks like if I don't, or what's the easiest path to doing that, or like it's a more in depth answer. But yes, I use them hand in hand as well. And I'm actually gonna I have to pick up my computer so I can get to my intuitive art supplies. So sorry guys for the wobbliness.
I love that. Yeah. So I think one of the big things that happens when you start going to your intuition to get clarity is you free up a lot of time and a lot of energy. And sometimes that is freaky. Sometimes people are like, what do I do now? I'm not spending so much time in my head going over different scenarios, trying to make a decision, driving myself crazy. So I have all this free time now. What do I do with it? Right? Like I've had every single client I've ever coached goes through this period where they just don't know what to do with their time because they have so much more of it, which is a great problem to have. So if you start approaching your life more intuitively, and so things are easier, they're faster, just remember to fill that time with fun, with enjoyable things, and like enjoy life. We're here to enjoy, we're here to create, we're here to have fun, we're here to have connections. And so living this way really facilitates that. I It may not seem like it because I grew up very connected, but in my teen years and early 20s, I was so in my head. I thought I had to have everything planned out. I thought it was irresponsible of me if I didn't have like a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan and if I knew exactly what I was going to do. So I grew up very intuitive and then I kind of lost it for a while and had to regain it. And I had to relearn that this way gives you more stability and more structure than trying to manage everything yourself. Because when you're trying to manage it yourself, you're not working with the whole picture. You can't have the whole picture in just your personality mind, right? We can only have access to the whole picture if we're going beyond that, if we're going to our higher dimensional selves. So this way, it seems a little less structured, less linear, but it's actually more comprehensive than trying to micromanage life in that mind problem solving way. Does that make sense?
Totally. So what I'm feeling into is there's something about, um, okay, I'm gonna bear with me while I find the words. There's something about living from intuition, right? When you're like super clear, I'm gonna, um, it's about like being a grown up. So for me, this all sort of happened within a few years of turning 40, right? I feel like when you were describing what happened for you, when you were a young child, you lived from intuition because that's what kids do, right? And then early adulthood, we tend to like think, okay, well, I gotta figure this out. I gotta be like we listen to what the world tells us and we want to fit into a way of being and we kind of try and micromanage ourselves. And then somewhere in our 30s and or maybe late 20s, depending, hopefully it's happening. I think it's happening for millennials earlier now than it's happening for my generation. But somewhere in that, like we recognize this does not feel good. I can't live like, I don't want to live like this forever, or we don't. And this may sound really harsh, but the people who don't, I feel like they never really like become a full-on grown-up, right? Or a leader or fully themselves is I think what I'm going for. They don't ever grow fully into themselves. And they wind up living um, a bit of a half life, right? They wind up living out of what they think the world wants or living from a place of should instead of from what really matters to them. But anybody who's like truly successful, anybody who we admire in their life, anybody whose life we look at and be like, oh man, I wish that was my life, or I wish I could be like them, right? They're making choices from who they really are, right? They're making choices from their intuition. And I think that's what happened for me. And I think that's why I'm feeling so out of whack right now is recognizing like part of choosing, making the brave choice to live from clarity and intuition even when it didn't make sense to my brain made me it once I started doing it, it made me feel like a grown up. It made me feel so much more relaxed and so much more who I am. And I tell people when they turn 40, like what happened for me is that I was like, F it, I'm 40. I do what I want. I do only if I want to do this, I do it. Like I'm 40, I don't care. And anyways, what I recognize is at least who knows how I'm going to feel when I'm 50. I am getting closer and closer every day, and 60 and beyond. But there's so much freedom in like just finding clarity and choosing it and living from it. It's so beautiful when it starts to pay off in your life, but I can't tell you like the relief and freedom that comes just from choosing it. And I think that's why I feel so icky now. Is because I recognize, oh, I made a choice. I made what feels like a childish choice, right? A choice that I would have made in my much younger years, not from like fully grown up me. So, anyways, I don't know. I just wanted to say that because I think it is sort of a natural, like, if you, what the psychologist would call like self actualize, right? To get to that point of self actualization, you have to get to the point where you're making this choice, where I live
Hmm.
from intuition, where I live from what's coming through here, not all everything up here. That's my rant.
No, I love that. I really, really love that. I couldn't agree more. And if you think about it, you know, not everyone feels the way I do in that our higher self is just the bigger part of us. Like that's how I feel. It's me. It's just the non-physical part of me. And how could we be self-actualized if we're not living that part of us too? Right? If we're just cutting that off and pretending it's not there and just making decisions from here, we're not living as our whole being. Yeah.
That's a whole different conversation, but one I find really interesting, like the idea of the self. What is the self actually? And I was having this conversation with a friend of mine the other day. Um, like I had, in college, I had like introductory psych classes, and they talked about I can't remember the id and the ego and the whatever the other thing is, right? Like I had awareness of that, but it wasn't until I read A New Earth, the Eckhart Tolle book, where he talked about the voice in your head and how um, if you can observe the voice in your head, then how could that be you? Because you're the one observing the voice in your head. And that was like mind blowing to me. But it was the first time that like I really had to think about the I am and the bigger I am and that idea of self. And I agree with you, Rachel. I don't think it matters whether or not people like, I love that you say higher self because it's this idea, right, that we're bigger than our body chemistry. But somebody else might use the word soul, right? Which is sort of the same thing. It's this idea that there's something in us that is bigger than our body chemistry or our social programming or, everything that science has told us. And I think most of us we have that sense of, well, there's me, the personality, and then there's me, the self. I don't know, maybe some of us don't, but if that's helpful to anybody, we're talking about making those soul decisions, those higher self decisions, the the me, the I am that is more than the voice in my head, that is more than my body chemistry.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you were talking about making decisions and feeling freedom, it really reminded me that when you get used to living like this and consulting your intuition for answers, you develop a sense of security and bravery that you really can't have otherwise. Like, I do a lot of things that my family thinks is really dangerous and risky, and I don't. It doesn't feel that way to me. Like, I travel across the country by myself a lot, and I've been to foreign countries alone, and I hike alone and backpack and go off-roading and, go off trail. And I just do a lot of things alone that, a small female, quote unquote, shouldn't do. And I only do things, though, that feel safe to me. There have been times when I'm traveling that, like, sleeping in a certain place hasn't felt right and I've left, because I have that inner guide of yes and no. I listen to it, and so I always feel safe when I'm listening, right? So, like, the trip itself wasn't dangerous. Maybe if I had slept there, even though I felt a no, I would have been startled or something could have happened. But I listened, and so I avoided that. And I think if you have access to your own internal guidance, you can do a lot more without feeling like you're taking a risk, without worrying all the time, and wasting your energy that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And this brought something up for me that a lot of people in my ways that we say or that we hear. And I want to talk about it because I think it can be interpreted two ways. And and I think we've all been taught some degree of this, which is feel the fear and do it anyways.
Mm.
And on the one hand, right, when we feel the fear and do it anyways, sometimes it's really important. For instance, if your initial answer was a yes, and then you felt fear and you did it anyway, that's always going to work out, right? That's when you can actually have that confidence, that security that Rachel's talking about, that is like, this is a yes. It's scary. It's totally scary, but it's a yes. And there's like a grounding that comes with that, that allows you to walk through the fear, to feel the fear and do it anyways. And to really, at least when that happens for me, process the fear relatively quickly. That's different than feeling the fear out of a no, out of a survival instinct, out of it's
Mm-hmm.
not safe here. And I think that's such a, maybe it's, I don't think it's just for women. I think every people, is that a thing? I think
Yeah.
everybody, um, I think that is where like this idea of clarity is so important. Where's the fear coming from? Is it a yes fear? Is it a no fear? That stuff matters. Anyways, that's that's what I was when you were. It wasn't a feel the fear and do it anyway. Be brave, Rachel. Sleep in this dangerous place, right? Because it was a no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think a lot of us are living in confusion around that.
That's exactly what my video is about, with intuitive decision making versus emotional, because the story of how I bought my RV is exactly that, right? When I saw it in person, my whole body was like, no, 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 no. That's the only inner monologue I had. No, 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 no. I was so terrified of it. It was so big. But when I actually could calm down for a moment and do the yes, no, it was the biggest yes ever. And it was just, initially it was a yes because I went to go see it and I was excited about it and I knew it when I saw it. But then in the moment, my mind was just so scared and I had to like reconnect back in to get my intuitive answer. So, yeah, it's definitely doable. This is a skill that you learn, and as you practice it with any skill, it gets easier and easier. But again, at times, even for me and Carrie, it can be a little confusing. You can make decisions that aren't necessarily aligned with you, but you'll learn stuff and it's not the end of the world. Like, never a time to get down on yourself. Everything's fine. No matter what you do, you're always taken care of. So this is not life or death. And for some people, if it happens to be, of course, like people do die, even that, it's a whole nother conversation in itself, but we're still okay.
So, do you mind if we do some intuitive art?
Yeah.
All about me and my clarity. I'm going to grab a pen.
So if you're watching, which we do, we have some people here. If you're watching the replay, grab your stuff, draw for Carrie. This will be so much fun. You can draw for yourself too. Go to our Facebook group and facebook.com/groups/Intuitive Art Academy. Post it in there. We would love to see it. It's funny. I'm wearing sweatpants like everyone else in the whole world, and they say, relax.
Oh, Rachel, I needed that. That is my, I have been so relaxed for so long that I think what I am feeling right now is what I was telling my husband. I'm like, I'm just so anxious. I'm just the degree of anxiety I have right now is so minuscule compared to the way that I used to live constantly. And it's because like I've been living from just relax. It's gonna be okay. And the place of like true confidence, because that's what comes when you live from your true north, right? When you live from listening to your intuition, you just move in a relaxed, easy, confident way through the world. So that's why like even the slightest amount of discomfort for me right now feels fairly unbearable. So I am excited to get into alignment, um, really around how do I word, I'm struggling to word this. I don't know, being clear and relaxed and confident and in my alignment while in this upcoming phase of my life where I'm committed to spending time doing things that I don't, it's actually just committed to spending more time is where I am. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Answer.
alignment, we can use alignment to encompass all those things. How do I keep my alignment while maintaining this new schedule?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Okay.
I'm betting everyone watching can get a good question out of this, whether it's for me
Yeah,
or for themselves.
absolutely. I know, even me. I'm like, yes, please.
Well, and it's so funny, right? Because everybody on the planet is on some sort of a new schedule right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so folks, we're going to have our heads down for a moment. You draw two if you want, or grab a drink of water, and we will see how Carrie's clarity comes through here and what she has to say about it.
Okay. Well, there's a pretty drawing.
Crystal's
Okay.
asking the question. So, Crystal, what I'm doing is how can Carrie maintain her alignment with her new schedule? Okay. Yeah, this one's pretty too. It's just, mine is just three
Ooh.
colors. Yeah. Actually, it's a good idea. So if you drew, write down your color meanings on your paper. It really helps the mind to put together the story.
Okay. Ready when you are, Rachel.
Okay. You want me to go first?
Sure.
All right. Sorry, folks, I'm just moving us around on the screen here. Here we go. So for you, Carrie, this is how you can stay in alignment and maintain your new schedule. This color up here is joy. So for me, being on the top, it's kind of like your intuition, your higher self is always going to be delivering you the path to joy, right? So if you can find a way to feel it, receive it, you'll know what to do to feel good regardless of what's happening. And then this is kind of how to do that. So the middle color here is grounding, and you're really good at that. And you have a lot of daily practices and movement in your life, and that can help you stay grounded. And I know for you, grounding has a special meaning. It's kind of like what's been coming up for you this year of how to increase everything you're looking to increase, right? And then down at the bottom, this is my wealth and ease color. And, you know, maybe the reason why you said yes to this is because you felt like it could increase your wealth and ease. Even though right now it doesn't look like that's the main benefit coming from it, right? It's looking like it's taking away your ease. There is a vibration that you can, I would say, make this the point of it, right? When you're thinking about this, instead of thinking of time and overwhelm, think of wealth and ease. Think of opportunity. And so if you can connect all of these things, start in the morning by connecting with wealth and ease and your, when you wake up, what do I want to feel today? I want to feel wealth and ease. And then move into all of your grounding practices. And then that's going to make it easier for you to feel that path of joy. And look, it's like literally you're hooking into things. You're creating a baseline vibration for your day, and you're hooking into it with your grounding, and then you're hooking into the joy from your grounding again. So that's what I would say. Take charge of this. Get yourself into the dominant place instead of the place of momentum, what that you don't like about it, and you're going to be golden.
I love that, Rachel, and thank you. And I got to tell you, when I know your colors, so when I saw the wealth and ease color, I was like, hallelujah. And yes, your explanation was spot on, right? I did say that I would do this because I recognize it's leading me toward that. And I actually recognize too that I am whatever's stirred up in me is preventing that I'm probably making it a lot harder than it has to be, or turning it into something bigger than it is. And what came up for me is something pretty similar. So green is newness, but the energy of green is fresh, calm, knowing, and truth. And so when I see that here in this drawing, it's sort of like the what you were saying, your light green of wealth and ease. This is a big relax, girl. Like the green is like, yeah, you're doing something new. But get calm, get into the knowing and the truth, the place that we've been talking about this whole call that you've been living from. Relax and get into that calm, knowing truth. And then interestingly, the second thing I put down was actually these brown stars, which is grounding for me as well. It means grounded, rooted, and slow pace. And I like that because, Rachel, you talked about my morning practices, which that will not change for me, right? Like those are my grounding practices. But I think these little stars are reminders. Hey, you may have to like take a deep breath a few times a day. You may have to pause and remember to ground. And if you guys watch this channel, you know that has been coming up for me all year long. Like, take times beside the morning to pause and ground and connect. And then those are right in my alignment color, which orange is basically it's alignment, but it also means my fully embodied self, right? It's all about living in my truth. My exact words for orange are joyful focus, alignment, embodied self. And the last word that I always forget when I'm talking about orange is celebrate. And this is something that right, if you're living in your fully embodied self, like life is a celebration. And that has been something that has not been a focus of mine. So as I am moving in this direction, being calm, remembering to ground myself, being in my total alignment, doing what I'm doing, I think the biggest thing for me is letting go of the outcome, right? Just being in my fully embodied self, celebrate what happens, regardless, right? Knowing that it's the right thing that happens. And then the last color that's in here is red, which red is a double-edged sword for me, but the way that I'm interpreting this is inspired action. Is what happens for me for red. It is like passion and fervor and excitement, and the way I describe it is it feels like running hard when I'm in really good shape, which feels amazing. But what I know about that is that feeling, if I don't act on it, it leads to anxiety. It leads to actually feeling the way that I feel right now. And so it's just a reminder, right? Like good things are happening. You can relax, you be in alignment, and then there's going to be action that you're going to need to take. And I'm excited so thank you so much for this, because I'm now super excited about seeing the opportunity, right? I said yes to. I'm now excited about stepping into it from this place and learning what.
Nice. We lost you for like a second at the end there. So you're excited about learning about what that action will be. Is that what you said? Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, look at that, guys. We went from overwhelmed, confused to clarity and excitement in less than an hour. I love that. That's the power of going to the right place for clarity. Because it's going to resonate. Or like, contrast that with you have a question about what you should do and you ask 5 friends. Those 5 friends give you the best answer that they can, right? Like, great answer, but it never really fills that hole that you have. Like, maybe it sounds good to you, maybe you're really appreciative of the answer they give, but it never really feels like it's yours. And then if you're asking intuitive art, which is your own higher wisdom, it's going to feel right. It's going to feel resonant. It's going to actually move you from confused to satiated, excited, calm, relaxed, whatever you're looking for. So I really love that.
Me too. I knew that. So to be fair, or to be honest, you guys, I don't know if Rachel told you at the beginning of this call, I was like freaking out because I was feeling all anxious, right? Which I was in all kinds of resistance. I'm trying to get onto this call and I couldn't get in. Like it kept not recognizing my microphone. I was like, no. And then I just surrendered it and was like, all right, well, if I get in, I get in. And one last attempt, I tried putting these earbuds in instead of no earbuds or the other earbuds. I arrived. I can't remember why I'm texting right now.
We're losing you a little bit, but I think we're wrapping up anyway.
Oh, I know.
Oh, go ahead.
I know. I keep seeing the freeze too. I was just saying, I'm so glad that this call happened because I really needed it today. So thanks everyone for watching. But ultimately, I'm just glad I showed up because I feel better.
Yay. Awesome. Well, I know we had some people watching do drawings, so we'll be looking for your drawings in the Facebook group for sure. Thanks for commenting, everybody. If you want to do more with us, subscribe, go to our free class. If you've done our free class, join our Creativity and Clarity Class Pass. That is, do live events with us every month and have some fun. So look out for that in your email. If you've got an old email with the link in it, go join us. It is incredible. People are loving it. And so are our practitioners. So yeah, that's all we got for you today. Thanks for coming. We love you, and we'll see you really soon.